The ferry approaches the island slowly, cutting through the calm waters of the Aegean Sea. The air feels different here, saltier, heavier with warmth, carrying a rhythm that seems unhurried. Ahead, Santorini rises like a painted vision. The cliffs are steep, carved in layers of volcanic rock. Deep brown at the base, streaks of red and gray, and near the top, a bright white crown of villages clinging to the edges. It is as though someone placed handfuls of snow along the cliffside. But as the ferry draws closer, the snow reveals itself to be houses, whitewashed, cube-shaped, flat-roofed, stacked one upon another like blocks in a child's careful design. The late afternoon sun still lingers, though its power has softened. The heat of the day begins to break, giving way to a golden hour glow that makes the whole island shimmer. The domes, painted in that famous Aegean blue, catch the last rays and reflect them back like jewels. Bells from a church tower ring faintly in the distance, their sound drifting across the water, marking the passage of another day on the island. Passengers gather at the railings of the ferry, cameras raised, conversations quieting. Even seasoned travelers, people who have seen dozens of islands, pause here. Santorini has that effect. It silences chatter and stirs something deeper. You can almost sense that everyone around you feels the same awe, the same pinch of disbelief that such a place exists outside of postcards. The ferry horn sounds, low and echoing, bouncing off the cliffs. The harbor appears small compared to the island's vast face, but activity buzzes below. Trucks, buses, and scooters wait along the pier. The smell of diesel mixes with the salt air, a reminder that behind the island's beauty, life carries on with its practical rhythms. The ferry slows, shudders, and finally edges into its place. Ropes are thrown, tied tightly to moorings. Passengers shuffle forward, the excitement of arrival giving their steps a certain impatience. You step onto the pier, and the island greets you with a mix of chaos and charm. Taxi drivers call out destinations. Tour buses idle with doors open, ready to whisk travelers toward the famous towns perched high above. Shops sell bottled water, snacks, postcards, and small souvenirs. But above all this noise, the cliffs loom. They rise impossibly high, and the villages above seem to float like clouds. That's where you are heading upward, into the heart of Santorini's mystery. The road that climbs the cliff zigzags in sharp switchbacks. Your bus engine roars, gears grinding as it lurches forward. From the window, each turn offers a new perspective. The harbor shrinking below, the sea expanding endlessly, the sunlight scattering across the waves. At times, the drop beside the road is dizzying, a sheer fall into nothing but rock and water. Yet at every turn, the sight of the villages above grows closer, more detailed, more inviting. Finally, you reach the top. The bus stops at the edge of Fira, the island's bustling capital, and the door opens to a swirl of new sensations. The streets are narrow, alive with people moving in every direction. Tourists stroll with cameras and shopping bags. Locals drive scooters through tight corners with a practiced ease. Cafes line the main paths, their outdoor tables filled with people sipping coffee or wine, their conversations blending into a low, steady hum. But it isn't the shops or the crowds that capture your attention, it's the view. The caldera stretches before you, vast and breathtaking. The volcanic islands rest in the middle, dark and quiet, like guardians of the past. The water in the caldera glows with a color so rich and deep that words fail it. It is not simply blue, but a shifting spectrum that moves between sapphire, indigo, and silver, depending on how the light strikes. The cliffs curve around the caldera in a great crescent, and along their edge, every house, every dome, every terrace seems perfectly placed, as though painted with a single brush stroke. Evening begins to settle. The sun dips lower, turning the sky into a canvas of fire and lavender. People gather along the walls, cameras in hand, waiting for that famous Santorini sunset. You watch as the light changes every second. White walls glow gold, then orange, then finally blush pink. Shadows lengthen across the narrow alleys. The sea, once sparkling, becomes darker, smoother, more mysterious. And as the last edge of the sun slides below the horizon, applause breaks out, a curious, almost universal habit of Santorini's visitors. To see the sun set here feels like watching a performance, one that deserves recognition, even gratitude. With the sun gone, lanterns flicker to life. Strings of tiny bulbs light up cafes and terraces. The villages transform again, this time into a constellation of warm lights, clinging to the dark cliffs like fireflies. The heat of the day has gone, leaving the air softer, easier to breathe. A hint of coolness drifts in from the sea, carrying the smell of salt and the faint scent of grilled fish from restaurants opening for the night. You begin to walk. The streets here are narrow, twisting, often no more than a path for two people shoulder to shoulder. The stones beneath your feet are smooth, polished by countless footsteps over centuries. Walls of white rise on either side, broken by wooden doors, painted turquoise, green, or red. Some doors open into tiny shops where artisans sell jewelry, ceramics, and paintings. Others open into hidden courtyards filled with vines and flowers. Each corner feels like a discovery. Donkeys once carried goods and travelers up these same paths. And though cars and buses now rule the main roads, in some places the donkeys remain, their bells jingling faintly as they move along. The mix of old and new is everywhere. A modern cafe beside a centuries-old chapel, a high-end boutique across from a taverna with only 3 wooden tables and chairs. As you make your way through the village, the sky darkens into a deep indigo. Stars begin to appear, faint at first, then clearer as the last traces of sunset fade. The island, so alive with color during the day, now takes on a different kind of beauty, quieter, more intimate. The lanterns and lights glow warmly, and the sea below becomes a vast, calm shadow. From a small terrace, you pause to look back. The path you've taken winds behind you, dotted with lights, voices, and life. Ahead, more alleys beckon, leading deeper into the heart of Santorini at night. It is here, in these first impressions, that you begin to sense what makes this island so captivating. It is not only the view, or the architecture, or the history. It is the feeling of walking in a place that seems caught between worlds, balanced delicately between sea and sky, between past and present, between dream and reality. And so, you step forward, ready to see what lies ahead in the winding lanes of Santorini after dark. The ferry approaches the island slowly, cutting through the calm waters of the Aegean Sea. The air feels different here, saltier, heavier with warmth, carrying a rhythm that seems unhurried. Ahead, Santorini rises like a painted vision. The cliffs are steep, carved in layers of volcanic rock. Deep brown at the base, streaks of red and gray. And near the top, a bright white crown of villages clinging to the edges. It is as though someone placed handfuls of snow along the cliffside. But as the ferry draws closer, the snow reveals itself to be houses whitewashed, cube-shaped, flat-roofed, stacked one upon another like blocks in a child's careful design. The late afternoon sun still lingers, though its power has softened. The heat of the day begins to break, giving way to a golden hour glow that makes the whole island shimmer. The domes, painted in that famous Aegean blue, catch the last rays and reflect them back like jewels. Bells from a church tower ring faintly in the distance, their sound drifting across the water, marking the passage of another day on the island. Passengers gather at the railings of the ferry, cameras raised, conversations quieting. Even seasoned travelers, people who have seen dozens of islands, pause here. Santorini has that effect. It silences chatter and stirs something deeper. You can almost sense that everyone around you feels the same awe, the same pinch of disbelief that such a place exists outside of postcards. The ferry horn sounds, low and echoing, bouncing off the cliffs. The harbor appears small compared to the island's vast face, but activity buzzes below. Trucks, buses, and scooters wait along the pier. The smell of diesel mixes with the salt air, a reminder that behind the island's beauty, life carries on with its practical rhythms. The ferry slows, shudders, and finally edges into its place. Ropes are thrown, tied tightly to moorings. Passengers shuffle forward, the excitement of arrival giving their steps a certain impatience. You step onto the pier, and the island greets you with a mix of chaos and charm. Taxi drivers call out destinations, Tour buses idle with doors open, ready to whisk travelers toward the famous towns perched high above. Shops sell bottled water, snacks, postcards, and small souvenirs. But above all this noise, the cliffs loom. They rise impossibly high, and the villages above seem to float like clouds. That's where you are heading upward, into the heart of Santorini's mystery. The road that climbs the cliff zigzags in sharp switchbacks. Your bus engine roars, gears grinding as it lurches forward. From the window, each turn offers a new perspective. The harbor shrinking below, the sea expanding endlessly, the sunlight scattering across the waves. At times, the drop beside the road is dizzying, a sheer fall into nothing but rock and water. Yet at every turn, the sight of the villages above grows closer, more detailed, more inviting. Finally, you reach the top. The bus stops at the edge of Fira, the island's bustling capital, and the door opens to a swirl of new sensations. The streets are narrow, alive with people moving in every direction. Tourists stroll with cameras and shopping bags. Locals drive scooters through tight corners with a practiced ease. Cafes line the main paths, their outdoor tables filled with people sipping coffee or wine, their conversations blending into a low, steady hum. But it isn't the shops or the crowds that capture your attention, it's the view. The caldera stretches before you, vast and breathtaking. The volcanic islands rest in the middle, dark and quiet, like guardians of the past. The water in the caldera glows with a color so rich and deep that words fail it. It is not simply blue, but a shifting spectrum that moves between sapphire, indigo, and silver, depending on how the light strikes. The cliffs curve around the caldera in a great crescent, and along their edge, every house, every dome, every terrace seems perfectly placed, as though painted with a single brushstroke. Evening begins to settle. The sun dips lower, turning the sky into a canvas of fire and lavender. People gather along the walls, cameras in hand, waiting for that famous Santorini sunset. You watch as the light changes every second. White walls glow gold, then orange, then finally blush pink. Shadows lengthen across the narrow alleys. The sea, once sparkling, becomes darker, smoother, more mysterious. And as the last edge of the sun slides below the horizon, applause breaks out, a curious, almost universal habit of Santorini's visitors. To see the sunset here feels like watching a performance, one that deserves recognition, even gratitude. With the sun gone, lanterns flicker to life. Strings of tiny bulbs light up cafes and terraces. The villages transform again, this time into a constellation of warm lights, clinging to the dark cliffs like fireflies. The heat of the day has gone, leaving the air softer, easier to breathe. A hint of coolness drifts in from the sea, carrying the smell of salt and the faint scent of grilled fish from restaurants opening for the night. You begin to walk. The streets here are narrow, twisting, often no more than a path for two people shoulder to shoulder. The stones beneath your feet are smooth, polished by countless footsteps over centuries. Walls of white rise on either side, broken by wooden doors, painted turquoise, green, or red. Some doors open into tiny shops where artisans sell jewelry, ceramics, and paintings. Others open into hidden courtyards filled with vines and flowers. Each corner feels like a discovery. Donkeys once carried goods and travelers up these same paths. And though cars and buses now rule the main roads, in some places the donkeys remain, their bells jingling faintly as they move along. The mix of old and new is everywhere. A modern cafe beside a centuries-old chapel. A high-end boutique across from a taverna with only 3 wooden tables and chairs. As you make your way through the village, the sky darkens into a deep indigo. Stars begin to appear, faint at first, then clearer, as the last traces of sunset fade. The island, so alive with color during the day, now takes on a different kind of beauty, quieter, more intimate. The lanterns and lights glow warmly, and the sea below becomes a vast, calm shadow. From a small terrace, you pause to look back. The path you've taken winds behind you, dotted with lights, voices, and life. Ahead, more alleys beckon, leading deeper into the heart of Santorini at night. It is here, in these first impressions, that you begin to sense what makes this island so captivating. It is not only the view, or the architecture, or the history. It is the feeling of walking in a place that seems caught between worlds, balanced delicately between sea and sky, between past and present, between dream and reality. And so, you step forward, ready to see what lies ahead in the winding lanes of Santorini after dark. When travelers speak of Santorini, they often imagine Oia, the village perched at the island's northern tip, known for its legendary sunsets, winding alleys, and houses that seem to spill gracefully down the cliffside. By the time you arrive, the last of the sun's fire has already melted into the horizon. But twilight lingers like a soft veil, painting everything in a muted glow. The bus that carried you from Fira to Oia has long since vanished down the road, leaving you at the edge of the village with nothing but the sounds of evening life to guide you. There is no grand gate, no wide boulevard welcoming you, and only a narrow stone path, lined with low white walls and the occasional flickering lantern. You step onto it, and just like that, you are inside Oia. The air is different here. The bustle of Fira is gone, replaced with something calmer, though no less alive. Oia moves at its own rhythm, slower and more deliberate, as though every stone has absorbed centuries of footsteps and refuses to be hurried. As you begin your walk, the first thing you notice is how the houses cling to one another. They are not separate, self-contained buildings, but rather a continuous flow of walls, roofs, and terraces, stacked and layered in a way that seems both chaotic and perfectly balanced. Some are carved directly into the volcanic rock, their doors opening into cool, cave-like interiors. Others perch boldly above, with balconies jutting out over the caldera, lanterns glowing like suspended stars. The alleys twist and turn unpredictably. One moment you are hemmed in by high whitewashed walls, and the next you emerge onto a terrace where the whole caldera spreads before you like a vast amphitheater. At night, it is a different spectacle. The sea is no longer blue but black and silver, rippling softly under the starlight. The volcanic islands appear as dark shapes against the water, silent and eternal. And above it all, Oia itself glows a necklace of golden lights draped along the cliffside. The scent of grilled food drifts through the air. Somewhere nearby, a small taverna is preparing for the evening. You follow the smell until you find it a modest courtyard with 3 wooden tables, a chalkboard menu leaning against the wall, and a man in an apron carrying out steaming plates. Tourists often rush to Oia for luxury restaurants with cliffside views. But here, in places like this, the island reveals its soul. The plates are simple, fresh fish caught earlier that morning, a drizzle of olive oil, a slice of lemon, tomatoes grown in Santorini's volcanic soil, smaller and sweeter than anywhere else, fava beans pureed into a creamy dip, served with warm bread. You pause at the edge of the courtyard, listening, the murmur of conversation, the scrape of cutlery against plates, the occasional burst of laughter. It is the soundtrack of ordinary life, woven seamlessly into the extraordinary setting of Oia. You smile, then move on, leaving the diners to their evening. Farther along, the path narrows again. The walls are close, and above you, vines trail over balconies, their flowers brushing against the lanterns. Bougainvillea spills in cascades of pink and purple, softening the stark white walls. You pass a shop selling hand-painted ceramics. The door is propped open, light spilling out onto the street. Plates decorated with blue waves, bowls painted with tiny suns, cups etched with the outlines of white domes and windmills, all reflections of the island itself. The shopkeeper nods politely as you glance inside. But you keep walking, drawn onward by the promise of what lies ahead. You reach a small square. Children run in circles, their laughter echoing against the stone walls. An elderly woman sits on a bench, her hands busy knitting, her eyes watching the play with quiet amusement. 2 cats slink between tables, tails high, pausing occasionally when a tourist bends to offer a scrap of food. The rhythm here is timeless. Generations have gathered in squares like this. And though the faces change, the essence remains the same. At the far end of the square stands a church, its white dome glowing faintly in the twilight. The bell tower rises above, 3 bells hanging silently, framed against the darkening sky. You step closer, noticing the details. The archways, the painted icons near the door, the faint scent of incense lingering from an earlier service. The church is closed now, but its presence is felt everywhere in Oia, not just as a building but as a heartbeat of the village. From the square, the path leads upward, You climb slowly, the stones uneven beneath your feet, until you reach a terrace overlooking the caldera. Here, the view stops you. Even if you have seen 100 photographs of Oya, nothing compares to standing here in person. The cliff drops away steeply, the houses below cascading down in layers of white and blue. Lights twinkle from terraces and windows, each one a small world of its own. Somewhere below, a hotel pool glows turquoise against the darkness. An oasis suspended above the sea, and beyond it all, the water stretches endlessly, catching the faint shimmer of the stars. You stand there for a long moment, not speaking, simply absorbing. Around you, others do the same. Strangers, yet united in awe. Some raise cameras, but even the clicking of shutters feels subdued, respectful of the scene. The night deepens. Oya's energy shifts once more. The tourists who crowded the main streets at sunset have retreated to dinners and hotels. The alleys grow quieter, the rhythm slower. Now is the time to truly wander, to let the village reveal its hidden corners. You leave the terrace and follow a narrow lane. It twists sharply, then descends by a staircase so steep it feels like it might lead straight into the sea. Halfway down, you find a small door carved into the rock. Above it hangs a sign faded, hand-painted, that simply reads, Cave House. Such homes are scattered throughout Oya, remnants of a time when villagers carved their dwellings into the volcanic stone for shelter and insulation. Some are now guest houses or shops, but many remain private, their history alive in every curve of their walls. Further along, you hear music, not the lively strumming from earlier, but something softer, a single guitar, played gently by someone sitting on a low wall. The melody drifts into the night, blending with the sound of the sea below. You pause, listening, not wanting to intrude. The player never looks up, lost in their own rhythm, but the music seems to belong to everyone who passes by. As you continue, you notice the textures beneath your fingertips. The walls, smooth with plaster. The wooden doors, rough with grain. The iron railings, cool to the touch. Every surface tells a story, a reminder that Oya is not only to be seen, but to be felt. Your walk brings you eventually to the ruins of a castle at the edge of the village. Its stones are weathered, its walls broken, but its presence is undeniable. This was once the Venetian castle of Oya, built centuries ago as a lookout against pirates. Today, it is a place for visitors to gather at sunset. But now, long after the sun has gone, it is quiet. You walk among the ruins, feeling the rough stones beneath your hands, imagining the history they have witnessed. From here, the view of the caldera is unmatched. The village curves along the cliff like a glowing ribbon, each lantern a point of gold against the darkness. The sea spreads vast and silent, the volcanic islands brooding in the center. And above it all, the stars reign, countless and eternal. Standing here, you feel the weight of time. Oya has seen empires rise and fall, storms batter its cliffs, eruptions shake its foundations. And yet, it remains beautiful, fragile, eternal. You linger for a while at the castle ruins, until the night air grows cooler and the village calls you back. Slowly, you make your way down from the high terrace, back into the winding alleys. The village is nearly asleep now, its rhythm slowed to a whisper. But for you, the night is still unfolding, and the journey through Santorini has only just begun. When people speak of Santorini, the word caldera comes almost immediately. The island itself is the rim of a massive volcanic crater, created thousands of years ago by one of the most powerful eruptions in human history. To stand on its edge, whether in Oya, Fira, or any of the smaller villages that cling to the cliffs, is to gaze not simply at a view, but at the remnants of a natural force that shaped both land and legend. From the terrace of the old castle in Oya, the caldera stretches before you like a vast amphitheater. The cliffs sweep in a wide crescent, their faces layered with red, brown, and gray rock. Lights from the villages sparkle along the top, tiny threads of gold tracing the rim of the crater. Down below, the water is impossibly still, its surface catching the faint glimmer of the stars. It is not the restless sea of waves and foam, but a deep, calm basin, as if the earth itself holds it in quiet reverence. The volcanic islands in the center rise dark and silent. Nea Kameni, with its barren slopes, is still alive, still breathing faint plumes of steam from vents that whisper of the fire below. Halia Kameni, smaller and older, lies beside it, its stones cooled but still young compared to the ancient cliffs around it. From this distance, they appear as shadows, low humps against the water, but their presence is undeniable. They are a reminder that Santorini is not merely a place of beauty, it is a place born of fire, where creation and destruction exist in the same breath. You rest your hands on the stone wall, feeling the cool surface as you let your eyes adjust fully to the night. The stars above grow sharper, each one reflected faintly in the dark mirror of the sea. For a moment, it is difficult to tell where the sky ends and the water begins. It feels as though you are standing at the edge of the world, peering into an endless expanse of light and shadow. Voices drift from nearby terraces. A group of friends shares a bottle of wine, their laughter soft, unhurried. On another balcony, a couple leans close, speaking in hushed tones, their faces lit by the glow of a lantern. Yet despite these sounds, there is no disruption. The caldera absorbs them all, wrapping everything in a sense of calm that seems to hush even the most animated voices. You begin to walk again, leaving the ruins behind, following the path that hugs the cliff. Each turn opens a new vantage point, and each is more captivating than the last. Some balconies are crowded with tourists, eager to capture the perfect photograph, while others are quiet, their views known only to those who wander far enough to find them. At one bend, you stop at a small lookout. There is no railing here, only a low wall, and beyond it, the cliff drops steeply into darkness. The sea lies far below, a smooth surface broken only by the occasional trail of light from a passing boat. You watch as one such boat glides silently across the water, its wake glowing faintly, illuminated by the lights on deck. It seems impossibly small against the vastness of the caldera, a reminder of how immense this natural amphitheater truly is. The wind shifts, carrying with it the scent of salt and something faintly metallic, a hint of the volcanic heart that lies beneath. You close your eyes for a moment, listening. The sea does not roar here, it whispers. The waves lap gently at the base of the cliffs, a sound so faint it could almost be imagined. It is a rhythm older than memory, constant and patient, as though the island itself is breathing. As you continue along the path, you pass a cluster of hotels built into the cliffs. Their architecture blends seamlessly with the rock, their terraces and pools cascading downward like steps into the sea. Lights from the pools glow turquoise, casting soft reflections on the white walls. Guests sit at tables with glasses of wine, their voices low, their gazes fixed outward. Everyone, it seems, is drawn to the same view, as if the caldera itself commands attention. You pause again, this time at a spot where the path widens into a small terrace. A sign nearby identifies it as a public viewpoint. Though at this hour, it is nearly empty. You lean against the wall and let your eyes wander across the sweep of the caldera. The villages curve along the rim, their lights twinkling like constellations fallen to earth. Fira, farther along the crescent, glows brighter, its cluster of lights more dense, while smaller villages like Imiravigli and Firo Stefani shine with softer, scattered sparks. Together, they form a chain of golden embers tracing the ancient rim of fire. The history of this view stretches deep into time. More than 3,000 years ago, this was the site of a catastrophic eruption, one so powerful that it reshaped the island entirely. Some say it gave rise to the legend of Atlantis, the lost city swallowed by the sea. Whether true or not, the thought lingers as you gaze at the caldera, that beneath this calm surface lies a history of unimaginable force. And yet, here you stand, surrounded by beauty so serene it is difficult to reconcile with such a violent past. You continue your walk, descending a short set of steps that lead to another terrace. Here, the view shifts slightly, offering a new angle on the volcanic islands. The moon has risen now, its pale light spilling across the water. The sea glows silver, the waves catching its reflection in long, trembling lines. The volcanic islands, once dark, are now outlined in faint light, their rugged shapes clearer against the water. From this vantage point, You notice how the caldera changes with every moment. By day, it dazzles with color blues, whites, golds, but at night, it becomes something else entirely. It is not about color now, but about contrast. Light and dark, silence and sound, presence and absence. The longer you look, the more you see. A light flickers from a fishing boat far below. A shooting star streaks across the sky. The reflection of a lantern dances on the water, then disappears. As you stand there, you realize that the caldera is not simply scenery. It is an experience, one that unfolds slowly, layer by layer. It is in the details, the smell of the sea, the feel of the stone under your hand, the sound of distant waves. It is in the knowledge that beneath your feet lies both history and possibility, that the island is alive even in its stillness. Eventually, you turn away, but not without a final glance. The caldera lingers in your mind, a vast canvas that will remain with you long after you leave. The path ahead leads deeper into Oya, into more alleys and terraces, but the memory of the view stays, like a quiet echo in the back of your thoughts. You step forward, and the journey continues. One of the most memorable ways to experience any place is through its food. And in Santorini, flavors are more than just meals. They are stories written by the land, the sea, and centuries of tradition. As you walk through Oya at night, the scents drifting through the air are enough to guide you, pulling you toward tavernas, cafes, and quiet terraces where the island's character is served on every plate. The first aroma that reaches you is unmistakable: fresh bread, still warm from the oven. In a small bakery tucked along a narrow lane, a tray of loaves sits cooling on a wooden counter, their golden crusts cracked and glistening. The baker, a man with flour dusting his apron, nods as you peer inside. Though the bakery is nearly closed for the night, the bread lingers in the air, mixing with the faint scent of sesame seeds sprinkled on top. It is simple, humble, but in that simplicity lies comfort, a reminder that food begins with the most essential elements. Not far from the bakery, a courtyard taverna glows softly with lantern light. Wooden tables are spread across uneven stones, each one covered with a checkered cloth. Families sit together, their voices rising and falling in animated conversation. A waiter carries plates balanced expertly in both hands, the dishes steaming as they pass. Curious, you pause to see what's being served. On one plate rests a dish of grilled octopus, its surface charred just enough to release the smoky scent of the fire. Drizzled with olive oil and sprinkled with herbs, it glistens invitingly. On another plate lies a serving of fava, a traditional Santorini specialty, made not from broad beans as in other parts of Greece, but from the island's unique yellow split peas. The puree is smooth, golden, topped with caramelized onions and a swirl of olive oil, the kind of dish that seems plain until you taste it, when it unfolds into richness and depth. Tomatoes, too, are essential here, though they are not the large, glossy kind you might expect. Santorini's tomatoes are small, almost cherry-sized, with a flavor that is concentrated and sweet. Born from the island's volcanic soil and dry climate, you see them piled in bowls on nearby tables, roasted into sauces, or chopped into crisp salads with cucumber, onions, and feta cheese. A sprinkle of oregano, a drizzle of olive oil, and suddenly the salad is not just a side dish, it is the essence of the island in a bowl. As you continue your walk, you pass another taverna where skewers of souvlaki sizzle over open flames. The smell of seasoned meat, smoky and savory, mixes with the salty breeze from the caldera. Laughter spills from the tables, glasses of wine clinking as friends toast the night. A musician strums a guitar in the corner, his quiet tune weaving seamlessly into the atmosphere. It feels less like a performance and more like a contribution to the shared experience of the meal. Wine is another story in Santorini, and it is impossible to walk far without passing a shop or bar that offers a taste. The island's vineyards are unlike any others. Because of the strong winds and lack of rainfall, the vines are trained into low, basket-shaped coils, called coulura, which protect the grapes and capture precious moisture from the morning dew. The result is wines that carry the very essence of the volcanic soil. Dry, mineral, with flavors that are sharp, yet refreshing. The most famous of these is a Sirtico, a white wine that is crisp and bright, with notes of citrus and salt that echo the sea breeze. Locals drink it with fish, with salads, or simply on its own, savoring the taste of the island in each sip. There is also Vinsanto, a sweet dessert wine made from sun-dried grapes. Its amber color glowing in the glass, its flavor rich with dried fruit and honey. To taste it is to taste history. It has been made here for centuries, carried in barrels on ships that once sailed across the Mediterranean. You step into a small wine bar tucked into a stone-walled cellar. Inside, the air is cool, and shelves line the walls, filled with bottles labeled in flowing Greek script. The owner greets you warmly and offers a glass of Assyrtiko. You take a sip, and the flavor is unlike anything else, bright and crisp, with a lingering finish that seems to carry the memory of the island's soil. Around you, other travelers do the same, their conversations blending into a soft murmur that fills the space. Leaving the bar, you find yourself drawn to another scent drifting from a cafe. This one is sweet, rich, unmistakable. Cinnamon, honey, and dough. You step closer and see plates of loukoumades, small golden dough balls, deep fried until crisp, then drenched in honey and sprinkled with cinnamon and crushed nuts. They glisten under the cafe lights, and nearby, children laugh as they share a plate, their fingers sticky with syrup. Further along, you discover gelato shops, bakeries offering baklava dripping with honey, and cafes serving galaktoboreko, a custard pie wrapped in flaky filo pastry. The variety is endless, each bite a reminder of the layers of influence that have shaped Greek cuisine over centuries. Byzantine, Ottoman, Venetian, all blending into something uniquely its own. But food in Santorini is not only about the dishes, it is about the way it is shared. In every taverna, you notice that meals are not rushed. Plates are placed in the center of the table, meant for everyone to taste. Conversations last long into the night, laughter flowing as freely as the wine. Eating here is not simply nourishment, it is community, celebration, memory. You stop at one last cafe, its terrace perched on the edge of the cliff. From your seat, you can see the caldera stretching out in darkness, the lights of Oya glowing behind you, the faint shimmer of stars overhead. A waiter brings a plate of grilled fish, seasoned with lemon and herbs, accompanied by roasted vegetables. Alongside it, a glass of Vinsanto glows amber in the lantern light. As you take in the meal, you realize that this is more than just food, it is the story of the island, told through flavors shaped by volcanic soil, salty winds, and centuries of tradition. Each bite carries with it the essence of Santorini, its resilience, its creativity, its connection to both land and sea. The night deepens as you finish. Around you, other tables fill with conversation, with glasses raised, with the quiet joy of people gathering together. The music continues, soft and steady, weaving into the hum of voices and the rhythm of the waves below. You rise from the table, stepping once more into the alleys of Oya. The scents linger in the air, grilled meat, fresh bread, sweet honey, and though you are leaving the tavernas behind, their warmth seems to follow you. Food here is not only consumed, it becomes part of the memory, part of the story you carry as you continue your journey through the night. The main square of Oya fades behind you, its music and laughter drifting away into the night. Now, the streets narrow further, the crowds thinning until only a handful of footsteps echo against the stone. The lanterns are fewer here, their light softer, leaving shadows to spill across the walls. This is the Santorini that most visitors never see, the hidden side, where the pace slows, where silence speaks louder than noise. The path dips downward, a staircase cut directly into the rock. Its stones are uneven, worn by centuries of use. You move carefully, the sound of your steps steady in the night. At the bottom of the stairs, a small courtyard opens, its entrance marked by an arched wooden door painted deep blue. On the other side of the courtyard stands a chapel, no larger than a single room. Its dome is painted in that iconic Santorini blue, its cross silhouetted against the stars. The chapel's white walls gleam faintly in the moonlight, almost glowing. A single lantern burns near the door, its flame flickering, casting a golden halo across the stone. You step closer. Though the chapel is closed, its presence is felt a quiet reminder of faith woven into the daily rhythm of the island. The scent of wax lingers faintly in the air, mixed with the salt of the sea. You imagine weddings, baptisms, and countless prayers whispered here over the years. Small chapels like this are scattered everywhere across Santorini, tucked into cliffs, perched on hillsides, hidden along winding paths. Each one tells a story, and together, they form the spiritual heartbeat of the island. Beyond the chapel, a narrow alley winds between houses. The walls rise high on either side, their plaster cracked in places, their wooden shutters closed tight for the night. Cats move silently through the shadows, their eyes catching the lantern light. You follow the alley as it twists and bends, unsure of where it leads. But trusting the path, that is the magic of Oya. You never truly know what waits around the next corner. The alley widens unexpectedly into another terrace. From here, you see the caldera again, though from a lower angle than before. The water gleams with silver where the moon strikes it, the rest swallowed in darkness. A fishing boat drifts slowly across the basin, its small light swaying like a star upon the water. The silence here is deep, broken only by the faint rush of waves far below. You lean against the wall, resting, and the cool night air wraps around you like a cloak. When you continue, the path grows narrower still, almost hidden between two houses. The stone underfoot changes rougher, more uneven, as if this lane was carved less for tourists and more for locals long ago. At the end, another door appears, its paint faded, its handle worn smooth. A faint light seeps from beneath it, and for a moment, you wonder what stories are unfolding inside. Behind every door in Oya, a different world exists. Families sharing late dinners, friends gathered with glasses of wine, solitary figures reading by lamplight. Though unseen, these lives are felt in the quiet heartbeat of the village. Farther along, you find another staircase, this one leading downward again, steeper than before. It winds toward the edge of the cliff, where the houses seem to dangle precariously above the water. You descend carefully, one step at a time, until the staircase opens onto a tiny courtyard. A single chair sits there, empty, its back facing the sea. It feels like a place for reflection, for sitting alone with the view and letting the vastness of the caldera sink in. The night is deeper now, the stars brighter overhead. The Milky Way stretches faintly across the sky, a pale river of light. From here, the village above appears almost unreal, layers of houses glowing faintly against the darkness, stacked so tightly they seem to grow from the cliff itself. The silence is profound, yet comforting, as though the island itself has settled into rest. You climb back upward, your footsteps steady, your breath slow. The air grows cooler as the night deepens, carrying with it the scent of jasmine from vines that creep across the walls. The flowers release their fragrance only at night, their sweetness lingering in the narrow lanes. The next alley you discover is quieter still. No lights burn here, save for the moon above. The white walls reflect just enough glow to guide your way. The silence feels different here, thicker, more complete. It is as if time has slowed, or perhaps stopped entirely. You imagine what these alleys were like centuries ago, before the tourists, before the cameras, when only fishermen and villagers walked them after dark. In that moment, you feel connected across time, your footsteps echoing those of countless others who passed here long before. At the end of this alley, another surprise awaits: a hidden garden. Iron gates stand open, leading to a space filled with trees and flowers. Lanterns hang from branches, glowing faintly, casting dappled shadows on the ground. A stone bench sits beneath an olive tree, its leaves shimmering silver in the night air. You sit for a moment, letting the quiet surround you. The garden feels like a secret, a sanctuary tucked away from the world. Eventually, you rise and continue. The alley curves once more, leading back toward the heart of the village. A small shop appears, its door still open though midnight is near. Inside, shelves are stacked with jars of olives, bottles of oil, and packets of herbs. The shopkeeper, an older man with a weathered face, nods in greeting. His eyes are kind, his movements unhurried. You browse for a moment, taking in the scents of oregano, thyme, and rosemary, all grown in the rocky soil of the island. Though you buy nothing, the shop leaves an impression, the sense that even in the quiet hours, life continues here, steady and grounded. Your walk brings you finally to another chapel, this one larger, standing at the edge of the cliff, Its white dome glows softly in the moonlight, its bell tower casting a long shadow against the ground. You step closer, drawn by its quiet presence. Though the doors are closed, candles flicker inside, their light visible through narrow windows. The glow feels ancient, timeless. A reminder of faith that has endured through centuries of change. You linger there, letting the silence and the view wash over you. From this spot, the caldera stretches endlessly, the water now almost indistinguishable from the sky. The line between sea and heavens blurs, leaving only light stars above, reflections below. It is a view that feels both vast and intimate, as though you are standing at the center of something larger than yourself. The night in Oya is not only about what is seen, but about what is felt in these hidden corners. It is in the cool stone beneath your fingers, the fragrance of jasmine in the air, the faint echo of music carried on the breeze. It is in the silence of the chapels, the warmth of lanterns, the quiet footsteps in alleys where shadows linger. It is in the lives behind closed doors, unseen yet present, shaping the rhythm of the village. As you make your way back toward the main paths, you realize that Oya's true beauty is not only in its sweeping views or its famous sunsets, but in these hidden corners, quiet spaces where time seems to pause, where the essence of the island reveals itself most clearly. It is here, in the stillness, that Santorini whispers its secrets. And so, your night walk continues, deeper into the mystery of the island, each step leading you toward new discoveries, new stories, and new memories that will linger long after the night has ended. As you wander deeper into Oya, the night quiets further. The tavernas have closed their doors, the laughter has faded, and only the sound of your footsteps remains. In this silence, you begin to sense something more than the present moment. Santorini carries with it a weight, an invisible thread that ties every whitewashed wall and cobblestone path to stories centuries old. To walk here at night is to walk not only through a village, but through layers of history that whisper just beneath the surface. The cliffs themselves are the first reminder. Rising steeply from the caldera, they are not merely stone, but testimony to fire. More than 3,000 years ago, Santorini was torn apart by one of the most violent volcanic eruptions the world has ever known. The island that once formed a single circle was split, shattered into the crescent we see today. Entire settlements were buried beneath ash. The sea rushed into the void left behind, creating the caldera that now stretches so quietly before you. As you lean against a low wall overlooking the dark basin, it is almost impossible to imagine such violence. The sea tonight is calm, the village is serene. Yet beneath the stillness lies a memory of fire that shaped not only this island, but perhaps the stories of civilizations far beyond. Some historians believe that the eruption of Santorini gave rise to the legend of Atlantis, the mythical city lost beneath the waves. Whether true or not, the thought lingers. Looking out over the caldera, with its drowned center and its fractured rim, you cannot help but see how myth and memory intertwine. Your path leads past the ruins of another castle, its stones dark and weathered. The Venetians built fortresses across the island during the Middle Ages, when Santorini was part of a maritime empire stretching across the Aegean. These castles served as lookouts, guarding against pirates who prowled the waters, raiding villages along the coast. Though much of the walls have crumbled, their presence endures, a reminder that beauty and danger once lived side by side here. Beyond the castle, you pass another chapel, its dome gleaming faintly in the moonlight. The Orthodox cross atop it is not only a symbol of faith, but a marker of centuries of resilience. The people of Santorini endured not only eruptions and invasions, but also the constant challenge of survival on land that was both fertile and barren. Volcanic soil nurtured tomatoes and fava beans, yet water was always scarce, harvested drop by drop from the morning dew. The chapels became places of gratitude and of prayer, woven deeply into the life of every family. As you continue walking, the wind carries with it faint echoes of stories. In Fira, farther along the caldera, lies the Archaeological Museum, where pottery and frescoes recovered from the ancient settlement of Akrotiri are preserved. Akrotiri, sometimes called the Pompeii of the Aegean, was buried under volcanic ash during the Great Eruption. Its streets, its houses, its art all were sealed and protected, waiting millennia to be uncovered. The frescoes tell of a society vibrant with color and life. Fishermen casting nets, women gathering saffron, ships sailing across painted seas. It is strange to think that beneath this quiet night, remnants of that same world may still rest, hidden beneath the earth. You stop at a terrace and gaze out over the sea once more. The volcanic islands in the center are dark silhouettes, their outlines sharp against the starlight. Nea Kameni still breathes faintly, releasing small wisps of steam from its vents. Though it slumbers now, scientists remind us that it is not dead, only waiting. The island is alive in ways we cannot see, and the thought lends a quiet weight to the stillness. History here is not always visible, but it is felt. It lives in the way houses are built into the cliffs, their walls thick to protect against heat and wind. It lives in the narrow alleys, designed not for cars or even donkeys, but for people who moved slowly, who carried their world on their shoulders. It lives in the names of places, in the festivals that still mark the calendar, in the songs sung late into the night. You turn down another path, and a mosaic catches your eye. Embedded in the wall of a house, it depicts a ship with wide sails, its prow cutting through painted waves. Such ships once carried wine and goods from Santorini across the Mediterranean, connecting this small island to lands as far as Egypt and Italy. The mosaic is not ancient, but it recalls a truth that has always been part of Santorini's story. This island, though small, has always looked outward, its people tied to the sea. As the night deepens, you feel the weight of these histories pressing softly around you. They are not overwhelming, but steady, like the foundation stones of the island itself. Santorini is not only a place of beauty in the present, it is a place shaped by centuries of resilience. You pause once more, resting on a low wall as the breeze stirs. The stars above shine brightly, their light unchanged across millennia. The same constellations that guided sailors, that inspired myths, that witnessed eruptions and invasions, those same stars shine tonight upon quiet streets and wandering travelers. Time, here, feels less like a straight line and more like a circle, folding past and present together into a single, enduring moment. Your walk resumes, the sound of your steps echoing against the stone. Somewhere in the distance, a bell tolls softly, marking the hour. The village is nearly asleep now, but the island is never silent. Its history hums beneath the surface, alive in every stone, every wall, every breath of wind. And so, as you move deeper into the night, you carry with you not only the sights and sounds of Santorini, but also its stories of fire and sea, of myth and survival, of faith and endurance. Here, in the quiet alleys of Oya, history does not belong to the past alone. It walks beside you, whispering softly with every step. The further you wander into the quiet alleys of Oya, the deeper the night becomes. The lanterns grow fewer, the laughter of tavernas has faded into memory, and the air now carries only the sound of the sea below. When you pause at the edge of the cliff, looking outward, you notice how the caldera has transformed once more. By day, it dazzles with light and color. At sunset, it glows like fire. But now, under the night sky, it feels infinite, vast, and profoundly still. Above you, the stars shine with a clarity that is rare in other places. Santorini's distance from large cities allows the heavens to reveal themselves in full. The Milky Way spills faintly across the sky, a pale river of light flowing from one horizon to the other. Each star appears sharp, steady, and endless, as if they were carved into the heavens themselves. For a moment, you cannot tell where the sky ends and the sea begins. The caldera reflects the stars so perfectly that the world around you feels doubled, as though you are suspended between two skies. It is easy to see why sailors once trusted these stars as guides. Long before compasses, long before maps, Greek mariners steered their ships across the Aegean by reading the constellations. The same constellations they studied now hang above you, ancient and eternal. To the east, you spot Orion, the hunter, his belt of 3 stars lined neatly across the sky. To the north, Cassiopeia reclines in her throne, her bright W shape unmistakable even against the glittering field around her. Directly above, the Pleiades cluster like tiny jewels, delicate and shimmering. And low toward the horizon, you glimpse the glow of Jupiter, brighter than any star, its steady light marking it as a planet. As you gaze, you recall the myths tied to these stars. Orion, the great hunter, slain by a scorpion and placed among the heavens by the gods. Cassiopeia, punished for her vanity, forever bound to circle the sky in her chair. The Pleiades, 7 sisters pursued across the heavens by Orion himself. The Greeks did not simply see stars, they saw stories written in light, reminders of triumphs, of tragedies, of the fragile bond between humans and the divine. You lean against the wall, the cool stone grounding you as you look upward. The stars do not move quickly, but you notice them slowly shifting, the constellations rotating gently as the earth turns beneath your feet. This slow dance has carried on for millennia, witnessed by sailors, farmers, philosophers, and wanderers, just like you. It is humbling to think that what you see tonight is what Homer described in his epics, what ancient priests studied from temple steps, what countless travelers used to find their way home. A breeze stirs, carrying the faint sound of the sea far below. The waves strike gently against the cliffs, their rhythm steady, their whispers merging with the silence of the night. For a moment, it feels as though the earth itself is in conversation with the heavens. The water, reflecting the stars guiding the boats crossing the sea, all bound together in a single, eternal cycle. You notice another figure standing at a terrace nearby. They too are gazing upward, silent, absorbed in the sky. There is no need for words. Under the stars, strangers become companions, united by the same wonder. The night sky has always been a shared language, one that requires no translation, no explanation. Its beauty belongs to everyone, equally and endlessly. Your walk takes you farther along the cliff, to another lookout where the view widens even more. From here, the volcanic islands in the center of the caldera are outlined in faint silver, their rugged shapes caught in the moonlight. Above them, the stars shimmer like fireflies scattered across the heavens. The effect is breathtaking, the dark islands below, the glowing stars above, and the sea between them reflecting both. It is a vision that feels timeless, as if you are glimpsing not only the present, but also the eternal. You think of the sailors who once relied on these stars, charting their course across the open sea. They read the sky not as decoration, but as instruction. The North Star, Polaris, steady and fixed, was their anchor, their assurance of direction. The constellations told them when to plant, when to harvest, when storms were coming. In a world without clocks or satellites, the sky was the greatest teacher. And even now, with all our maps and machines, the stars remain, patient and unchanging, guiding those who choose to look up. The air grows cooler as the night deepens, brushing against your skin with a gentle touch. You pull your jacket closer, but the chill feels welcome, refreshing after the heat of the day. The scent of the sea intensifies, sharp, clean, carrying with it a hint of salt and stone. You inhale deeply, letting it fill your lungs, grounding you further in this moment. From another terrace, faint music drifts through the air. A guitar, soft and slow, played by unseen hands. The notes rise and fall gently, weaving with the whispers of the waves and the silence of the stars. It is not a performance meant for applause, but a quiet offering to the night, a reminder that beauty often exists in small, unspoken gestures. You pause once more to look up. The constellations continue their steady journey, shifting slightly as the hours pass. A shooting star streaks across the sky, brief but brilliant, vanishing into the dark. You smile at the sight, knowing that countless others before you have looked up from this very island and seen the same fleeting wonder. Santorini by night is a place of many beauties, the lantern-lit alleys, the quiet chapels, the flavors of food and wine. But here, standing at the edge of the caldera with the stars above, you feel a different kind of beauty, one that transcends the island itself. It is not only Santorini's story you see written here, but humanity's. The stars have always been with us, guiding us, inspiring us, reminding us of both our smallness and our connection to something infinite. You linger for a long time, unwilling to turn away. The night sky is not hurried, and neither are you. There is no destination more important than this moment, no path more meaningful than the one that leads your gaze upward. Eventually, you move on, your footsteps quiet against the stone. But the stars follow, always above you, always watching. And as you continue your walk through the silent alleys of Oya, you know that they will remain steady and eternal. Long after the night has ended, the hours have passed unnoticed. Santorini at night has a way of dissolving time, of blurring the boundaries between minutes and centuries. What began as a simple walk through Oya has unfolded into something larger, a journey across alleys and terraces, through scents and flavors, into history and myth. And now beneath a sky scattered with stars, you find yourself once more at the edge of the caldera, standing on a terrace that seems suspended between sea and sky. The village of Oya glows behind you, its lanterns warm and golden, spilling light across white walls and casting shadows into narrow lanes. Before you stretches the caldera, dark and immense, its surface reflecting faint ripples of starlight. Beyond, the volcanic islands sleep silently, their outlines sharp against the horizon. And above it all, the heavens remain infinite, steady, eternal. The night is quiet now. The tavernas have closed, their tables empty, their chairs stacked neatly until morning. The music has faded. Even the footsteps of other travelers have grown scarce. The village has surrendered to rest, leaving only the occasional murmur of voices carried by the breeze, or the soft jingle of a donkey's bell somewhere in the distance. You stand alone, yet not lonely. In this silence, the island feels most alive. You think back on all you have seen tonight. The first steps through winding alleys, the lanterns glowing above, the scent of jasmine clinging to the walls, the small chapels, quiet and steadfast, their domes shining under the moon, the tavernas filled with laughter and the flavors of the island, the sweetness of tomatoes, the richness of fava, the sharp brightness of Assyrtiko wine, the hidden courtyards and secret gardens where silence lingers like a guest, the ruins of castles, stones weathered but enduring, whispers of a time when pirates prowled the seas and fortresses stood guard against them. And then the stars, countless, endless, written across the sky like stories told in light. They have been the constant companion of your walk, following each step, illuminating the island with their patient glow. To see them here, from the edge of Santorini, is to feel both humbled and uplifted, reminded of the vastness of the world and the small yet precious place you hold within it. The breeze stirs again, carrying with it the scent of the sea. The waves below are gentle tonight, their rhythm steady, as if breathing in time with the island. You close your eyes for a moment, listening, and the sound of the water becomes everything timeless, grounding, eternal. You open your eyes and glance once more at Oya. The houses cling to the cliff like a constellation of their own, each lantern a star, each terrace a fragment of the heavens brought down to earth. It is no wonder people fall in love with this place. No wonder they travel across oceans to stand where you stand now. Santorini is not simply beautiful. It is a reminder of what beauty can mean when it weaves together land, sea, history, and sky. You linger a little longer, unwilling to leave. But the night grows deeper. The village behind you has grown still, its heartbeat slowed to rest. Soon dawn will approach, and the island will awaken once more. The shops opening, the boats returning, the alleys filling with footsteps. But for now, Santorini belongs to the night, to the silence, to those who walk its hidden paths under the stars. As you turn to leave, you take one final look over the caldera. The sea stretches vast and endless. The stars shimmer steadily above, and the lights of Oya glow behind you. It feels less like a farewell and more like a promise that this island, with all its beauty and history, will remain, waiting for you, waiting for anyone who chooses to walk its alleys and listen to its whispers. Your footsteps echo softly as you begin the path back through the village. The night holds you gently, the stars following above, the scent of jasmine still in the air. And though your walk is ending, the memory will remain not just of what you saw, but of what you felt. A night in Santorini is not easily forgotten. It is a story written not only in sights and sounds, but in quiet moments, in hidden corners, in the stillness of the caldera beneath the stars. It is a reminder that some places are more than destinations. They are experiences, timeless and unchanging, forever waiting to be discovered anew. And so, your night walk in Santorini comes to a close.